just want to leave the floor to Alan, who's gonna just explain you about the key skills to future-proof your career in this very specific age, which is the age of AI. Okay, so I'll interrupt sharing. So Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Greta. Really appreciate it. Uh, just sharing my screen. Kindly let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, it's loading. It's there now.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. My name is Alan Lerner, and as I asked, Greta mentioned, I've been working at OPIT for a while, and it's always a pleasure to share and of course to learn from everyone in the house in terms of what's going on from a skill set perspective and how are we all reshaping our own careers and our future in the age of AI. Just a little bit about me. I've been in consulting most of my life, just not to say all my life, although I started my career doing internal audit uh, back then in 2007-ish. I then worked around the nuances of non-financial risk management, but then again, we shaped it to management consulting, where I've done pretty much from program and project management to change management to process transformation and workforce optimization. I've also implemented a number of shared service centers in order to optimize and work around finance transformation, particularly within the finance function, GL, Treasury, APAR, and also have been pretty much involved in implementing SaaS solutions and a bit of disruptive technology such as RPA. I kind of reshaped part of my career, in line with all of what's going on and shifted into talent operations. I'm currently working at TopTal with small and medium businesses, which might include some startups and Fortune 1000 companies, specifically helping them get the best talent uh, from any perspective, and working around multiple transformation initiatives. Teaching is part of my life. I really embrace it and love it. At OPIT, I've been teaching a vast number of undergrad and graduate courses, but I've also had the opportunity to do that in my home country in Argentina. Uh, and if you see the breadth of courses that I've taught are pretty much foundational business management courses, and also grad courses in technology and business. I have to say that for me, teaching is an amazing way of learning, and again, I'm so happy to be here once again sharing this webinar at OPIT. Today, we're going to start with this quote by Sarah Jiang, who said, and in line with everything that's going on, artificial intelligence is just a new tool, one that can be used for good and for bad purposes, and one that comes with new dangers and downsides as well. So we know already that although machine learning has a huge potential, data sets with ingrained biases will produce biased results, garbage in, garbage out. And one of the things that I always try to convey, especially when we think about AI or any disruptive technology, including agentic AI, uh, Gen AI, or even artificial general intelligence, you name it, is always about the quality of the data and the processes that are around that, and skills to be gained in order for us to make sure that we can, be protagonists is in this era, brings us to the reality that we need to be data savvy, but also we need to understand what can we potentially do with that data, and that means not being a master in the management of technology, but also understanding the key processes that will allow us to make the best and the most sound decisions. So again, in an era where AI is all over the place, and we're going to share a bit of that as well, it's not about the tech skills only. It's about what you can do with that particular technology, and how can your thought processes be more competitive than others in order to make the most of that data and make the most sound decisions. So for today, I want to start by sharing where are we standing and what are we seeing in terms of the landscape that surrounds us. So as we can deep dive into the key skills to grow your career in this era where AI and other disruptive technologies are pretty much around us, and the need for upskilling and reskilling is non-negotiable. And some final thoughts for you all. So, I have to say that the World Economic Forum launched their 2025 report a while ago. And the pattern that we can see from a job market perspective is still consistent with a number of studies that have been conducted around these ideas. The WEF interviewed more than 1,000 companies in 26 different industries, and we're talking about 14 million workers. And when it comes to understanding where the job market is going from a global perspective, the equation pretty much tells us that more jobs are going to be created than the ones that are going to be displaced. That is nothing that we probably haven't heard before. The important thing here, besides the fact that uh, the end game of the equation is positive, is that the labor market is definitely changing. And the key trick here is not necessarily about how can we get better in the way we do our own jobs, but how can we make sure that we are maintaining ourselves in the edge of knowing which technologies are going to drive the future of our roles and be able to cope with that in a fast fashion. So, learn fast, improve fast mindset is what's needed. And again, the trends in AI, robotics, and everything that is around this business transformation is not something that we ignore. We all know that AI is booming and that investments are soaring, but still results are not kicking in as much as we would expect. We're going to share a bit of that as well. But the important thing here around the future of jobs, besides the amount of job creation or job destruction by itself, is the mindset that we need to develop. Because if you basically see the fastest growing jobs and the fastest declining jobs, there is some kind of correlation between what is the market basically asking: big data, fintech engineering, AI engineering, software and applications developers, UI, UX, IoT, IIoT from an industrial perspective, data analysis and data science whatsoever, you name it. The STEM playfield is there and has always been there, and it will continue to grow. But if you see the top largest declining jobs, and we can have some differences in the discussion, um, it is clear that more transactional, unmundane, and mundane roles will be definitely displaced, not totally disappear, but for sure displaced by the impact that AI and other disruptive technologies is having. So again, cashiers, admin assistants, even when we think about accountants or bookkeepers or security guards, these are things that come across the words of change. Then again, not sure if they will disappear. I don't see accountants and bookkeepers disappear. I do see them being more empowered by the use of technology. Same security guards, we might replace an individual with a machine, but still something or someone will be controlling that machine. A lot of data entrism activities will be replaced by AI, of course, in the essence of cost saving and efficiency. But still, again, that twist, that change around the workforce is still on the go and in progress. And the key thing here is what are we going to do about it and how are we going to manage that workforce disruption? So, again, what are we seeing from that perspective? Change is happening. And a key aspect that we are also seeing is how is that change being communicated and navigated, especially considering that, you know, a lot of companies are implementing AI and are even using AI to replace even some roles. You probably heard or read Bob Sternfeld's McKinsey's head commentary in terms of we have 25,000 AI agents in our workforce that are being deployed to help us bring in and deliver better consulting services. Or you can also reach out and see the fact that a lot of companies are being retrained and even obliged to take AI training to work themselves through, which is very positive. if you see it. Accenture is definitely, as an example, really, really investing and reinventing consulting in one way. So, what is going on in terms of how are employees feeling it? Communication is key, and leadership message needs to be crisp and clear. Because again, if communication is not appropriate, a lot of people will think, hey, what's going on and what is going to happen to me if I'm not in line with these changes from a day to day perspective and reality. And another thing that is also critical and important is the fact that investments are real. Basically, a lot of companies are definitely pouring resources into AI. And again, this is part of not only a cost optimization or a cost efficiency initiative, we're talking about finding the right way to approach AI so we can incorporate it to our day-to-day lives. And again, the reason that this is important is that although this is soaring and a lot of companies are investing, no clear results are still there. Uh, MIT recently launched a critical study that states that 95% of the companies that have been investing in AI, and particularly in Gen AI, are not noticing any results. So, what's the expectation when we talk and think about results? I can definitely tell that it is about defining clarity around what needs to happen, but also understanding that AI will not be magical if we don't pour the right resources and the right people around it. So, what are we doing in terms of building those core digital capabilities, and how are we working with data to make sure that that kicks in? So, again, AI deployment from a leadership perspective is clear. A lot of companies are working around this. Taking this Accenture Pulse of Change survey, 21% of companies are redesigning processes. But again, fewer than 10% are redesigning roles. So the question here is, are we ready to embrace this, or are we getting ahead of ourselves saying, hey, you know what? We need to invest first and then see what happens. That is a conundrum. But still, in my experience, a lot of companies and a lot of roles are making a good use of AI or Gen AI or any disruptive tech that deals with AI or not, but still useful to make our lives easier internally and also to deliver a better customer experience. Now, the question here is, are we using this the right way? Are we getting the potential that it deserves? Are we being able to enhance customer experience from an internal and external perspective, making employees feel that they are definitely thriving in their role and that they are not investing their time doing mundane, repetitive, and non-value added activities? So again, this is part of what these studies are trying to work around. So when you see the agreement around the C-suite in terms of increasing investments in AI, this is a go. Now, as revenues are expected and more benefits from that investment are also expected, are we really making the most of it? And that's a key question that we all should ask or at least think about, especially when it comes to building the right capabilities to manage technology. Because again, a lot of people would think managing technology comes first, and then we'll see what happens with the business. I believe that it's the opposite. If we don't understand how our business will benefit from the implementation of AI internally and both in the way we deliver services or value propositions, then we're going to have a big trouble because we're going to have invested a lot in technology without even understanding what can we do out of it. So again, it is not that clear yet. We are definitely progressing, and in line with that, definitely see that there's a lot of positivity. It's not a vibe kind of discussion. This is real, but still, we have the resources, we have the investments that are done. We think we are doing them the right way. But how come are we going to get the best results if we're not yet there with the talent, with us, with the people that will be operating this? So again, as you can see from this Accenture study, only 38% of the workers believe that organizations are responding effectively to tech disruption. So we're not talking about half of the people plus being more confident that this is going to yield great results. And again, there's a lot of job insecurity that comes with this, in line with what we've shared from a web perspective. So, how can we better prepare ourselves to make this work? And of course, if you want to top this up, Gartner's CHRO's trends for 2026 are amazing. Strongly recommend that you watch this webinar that occurred. It's really worth it of your time, 30, 40 minutes, available on YouTube. Um, and there you'll be able to see that, of course, the future trends in HR when it comes to adopting technology and using it towards everyone's benefits are very interesting to understand, especially when reduction in workforce or RIF is always in people's mindset. So we need to also acknowledge the fact that we are not implementing AI to displace or to eliminate roles. And that's the first thing that I know it's hard to acknowledge and at some point hard to not think about, especially when culture, organizational culture, is changing all the time. And there's a ton of performance pressure to yield results in short periods of time. So if we're trying to achieve a good work-life balance and take care of our workforce mental health, it is definitely important that we can cope with the idea that everything needs to come and pair together. Technology will never be able to yield results if there's no people, if there's no talent behind it. And then again, for us to be able to incorporate technology as part of our daily lives, as part of our performance, and as part of our org culture, we also need to think on employee experience first. And that is something that, for me, it is quite important to share, especially when we see organizations reshaping their strategies around AI and not necessarily putting people first. So, again, in a world where disruption is part of the blurb, is part of the strategy, is part of the story, our colleagues from KPMG in their CEO Outlook 2025, where again, more than 1,350 CEOs are interviewed from multiple number of markets and industries. It's always about and around being able to reshape organizations the right way to achieve growth. And that means not only investing better in technology, but developing greater agility to make decisions, to learn fast, to pivot, and of course, manage the risks around that. Again, especially in highly regulated industries. So, as we sort out the pressure around what can we do, what and how can we face this music, making sure that we are in the right place? Well, uh, the answer shouldn't surprise anyone here, because the idea is going to be all around how can you reshape your workforce, making sure that whatever expectation you have around AI investments is sound with the way that you are retraining, reskilling, and working with your teams to make sure that this is part of your day to day and that people feel comfortable and acknowledgeable of the fact that they will still be the owners of the results and that they will be accountable to putting their mindset at the service of their clients and not putting technology first. So this is something that is definitely going to be really. And again, in that sense, the way we're working and the way we are thinking about this has to also manage and allow us to manage anxiety around how soon are we going to get investments and how soon are we going to be seeing a return on that sense. So experimentation is going to definitely be key as we try to scale these initiatives. And at some point in time, the idea is that we are also patient around when return on investment will come. Because again, time to value is key. And although the expectation on getting this ROI is very big, because again, 67% anticipate that ROI will come in 1 to 3 years. It is not about how we try to anticipate or force the situation, but how are we communicating and managing change around what's going on. And this is something that we all need to work and think about, especially when the key gist of this has to do with how should I manage and how should I reshape the workforce around AI and not the other way around. So engagement from employees and from the workforce is still the number one priority, in my opinion, when it comes to measuring what impact would you like AI to have, not only in the value proposition that you bring in, but also in trying to think about how do you want your workforce to develop inside your organization when it comes to career planning, when it comes to personal and professional development. And again, just wrapping this up, uh, don't get surprised when you read the Deloitte Tech Trends 2026 report, which is definitely recommended as well, that we strongly strive and think about how companies are implementing technologies above and beyond AI or even so Gen AI, and how our roles around the CIO, the CTO, the CDO, the CAIO, if you will, as well, being reshaped as part of this discussion. Because if you see things through and try to sort this out, especially when we think about numbers, companies are definitely working themselves around how can I cope and work through these new roles when we think about AI collaboration designers or AI engineers or prompt engineers, and how can we also transform ourselves? Maybe some of us are not AI savvy or not a tech experts. How can we help the transformation, showcasing that this can definitely bring value? And it's mainly more around AI literacy rather than being a technical expert in AI. And that is something that, in my opinion, is really critical to acknowledge. It is not the same to be an AI technical expert than to be an AI literate individual, although both scenarios can complement. And this is a great call out for people that are maybe non-technical. The important thing here is not that you know everything from a technical perspective. It's more around what you can do with it and how can you consult about the things that you may not know. And this is pretty much in line with what's going on, because again, data is the new gold or the new oil, and data is being produced as much as we are discussing right away. You can see it in this amazing infography from Go Globe. Uh, Although this is from 2024, 2025, I wasn't able to find someone 2026-ish, but I can tell you that if you multiply this in some cases by 2 or 3x, results can definitely be, really at some point consistent with what's going on. So now it's all about developing and being skill ready to make sure that this kicks in. And what I want to share with you is what are the 8 skills that, in my opinion, makes make sense, the 8 capabilities that we need to continue developing, or for some of us, start developing in order to be able to thrive in this AI dominated, if you will, landscape. Now, the first one has to do with managing, with the capability or the ability for you to manage complexity. This means solving problems and making decisions not only under pressure, but under changing environments. This speaks about understanding that the environment and the context will change, and developing a perspective that is open to that is the first step towards being successful, especially because organizations are social technical systems. People are what matters or should be what matters. Although, today we can say that the conjunction between people and machines, it's what, basically makes an organization social technical system. Social because of people, technical because, again, it's going to be about technology, but mainly trying to bring fresh perspectives to the equation and adopting this outside in vision. So we can not only nurture ourselves with what we think is good, but also see competitors or any industry key players that can help us make this thing through. And diversity is key to that purpose. So building diverse teams to solve problems is great to nurture and work through building the right path. And I would say that in today's world, perfection is far from expected. And I do think that in a lot of industries, this idea of moving fast and fix things faster is what counts, especially considering that perfection is non-achievable and paralysis analysis is always around us. So again, this is a key invitation to embrace digital literacy and to start learning something new as much as you can, and be and develop a proactive approach to learning, especially considering that we are facing a BANI environment. And by BANI, I mean brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible, as you probably heard, um, so that we can work this through. So managing complexity entails understanding complexity first. The second thing that I strongly recommend from a capability perspective is trying to leverage networks. A lot of people think networking is just a blurb. Partially, I do think it is, but the power of having and developing strong connections in your professional and personal networks is key, not only to being a better professional and a better individual, but also to finding new opportunities to contribute to society and also to learn and earn from that journey. So, again, building and developing your networks is critical, especially not only to ask for help, but also to contribute with your own value. And that means trying to build your brand or to enhance the way you build your brand and how you work that through, showing yourself as valuable potentially, and of course, being versatile enough to showcase what you're capable of. The idea behind this is to, again, leverage networks for any professional or personal purpose that will add value to your society, to your industry, to the context of your personal environment. And I will always try to say and recommend treat networks as mutually rewarding relationships, which means give and take in a proportionate way. Sometimes some people tend to think that, networks are there just to take. Um, I've had experiences that were very positive and some of them not as much, especially because networking speaks about purpose. And at some point, purpose might be tied to results or not. Some people use networks just to say, you know what, I'm in desperate need of getting a job. My context is not the best. I'm not saying that's bad. It is the reality of a lot of people in here, in the world itself. I do think that building connections is what can help us not only have better chances of landing into an ideal role or even getting a job, but also it's an exercise that takes time because you need to understand yourself and your identity first and iterate around that building. Um, and again, it's not easy, but I can assure you that if you put a bit of time every day or every week, making small actions and daring to do it without any fear or risk of being considered something negative, it's the best way that you're going to be able to work yourself through this. So networks are important. Building connections is important. Um, Trying to find the right connections is also important. And I would say one critical thing that I learned from experience is I'd rather be sorry than safe when it comes to asking for permission and trying to add a contact to a network or build a relationship with someone that I might not know. But again, this is just me. Uh, each approach is unique. But I strongly recommend you to dare. Daring and being bold is definitely what pays. The third capability that I want to share has to do with think and act in a global fashion. So this means always try to benchmark, always try to see things through from a global perspective before thinking local. So identifying great companies or the greatest benchmarks that you can see outside your industry or inside your industry is important and pretty interesting. I always recommend you to check some rankings that are really great. The Fortune rankings are amazing. The American Customer Satisfaction Index or the European Customer Satisfaction Index or the Best Place to Work rankings are definitely great places to see what companies are, definitely booming, soaring, and doing extraordinary stuff. Uh, it's a great way to also learn from what's going on in a particular industry. Um, and in that sense, my take on this is the best way to make a difference and to differentiate your own value proposition is not copycatting or copying what others are doing, but emulating what you can take out of those practices and trying to adapt them to who you are and what your company is trying to do about that. So it speaks about being diverse from a mindset perspective and also trying to navigate cultural complexity, always understanding that at the end of the day, what we offer to the market is going to be very nuanced and very specific to a particular need. And there's no one size fits all in the equation. So thinking and acting local, meaning seeing global and incorporating or emulating that internally is the best thing that you can do. Or at least, in my opinion, it's best that just looking at yourself and saying, hey, I'm the best. There's no way I can improve because I'm very cute and I'm very the only one. Uh, Today, that doesn't pay. Uh, and you can see that through as you navigate uh, the high tech environment or industries that are definitely changing. And even though, started being very traditional, are rethinking their value propositions. The fourth capability speaks a lot about inspiring engagement, which means basically working constantly in building a great rapport from your end as a contributor. Doesn't matter if you're an individual contributor or a leader, but building that meaningful connection between what you are, who you are, and the organizational values that are around you. This means always try to work yourself around thinking of that alignment between who you are and who are you serving, and asking and questioning, are you in the right place at the right time? Am I having the right conversations at the right time? And am I being honest to myself when I enact in line with the role that I do have, or even when I share feedback or trying to coach people that work for me or with me? Um, I will always recommend you getting as much feedback as possible and acknowledging the fact that getting feedback is extremely difficult. And I can tell this from my own experience because feedback speaks about not only what's amazing, but also about things that can definitely be improved. We'll be finding ourselves struggling a lot with accepting those improvements and the fact that someone might have not liked what we've done as much as other people, or the fact that we put so much work and so much time doing something that was not maybe as appreciated as we had expected or as we would have expected. So I always would recommend to ask for feedback. That is mandatory, at least if you want to improve as an individual and as a professional. Ask feedback from your friends, from your family, from your employers, from a colleague, a classmate. It's healthy. It's very healthy. It's like, taking an apple a day to keep your doctor away. And at some point in time, it's a very mutually interesting exercise, not only for the person that is receiving the feedback, but also the person that is delivering that feedback. And how can you foster and inspire more engagement behind that? So, this number four is very simple to say, and I would say even more simple to enact, but might be difficult to incorporate, especially if you don't make the necessary time to work this feedback loop effectively. Number five, communicate strategically. I find myself speaking with a lot of clients and talents that need more words to communicate or find more complexity in tailoring the right message. I can say that I'm one of those uh, persons because I honestly like to speak a lot. And I've learned over time that it's not about how much can you speak, but the value behind your words. So I do recommend that each of us can create uh, our own communication style because everyone's so different in a lot of different ways. And this idea of finding our own voice speaks about not knowing uh, for sure if we're going to be the same, because I can tell you we're not going to be the same. And finding our own voice speaks about daring ourselves to do crazy things, speaking in front of a big audience, hosting a party, working in the back end to organize an event. There's a number of ways that we can try and work around finding our own voice. The key question here is, are we daring to take a leap of faith and risking it? And this also speaks about crafting our own storytelling. Storytelling, as you probably heard, is key because the art of words is what basically allows us to convey an impactful message. I can tell you this is true, not because I'm a storytelling expert. I'm learning every day when I hear conversations and when I hear the people that I work with and I surround with. But the real thing here is that communication is above and beyond every technical skill that you can think about. And at some point, it's very overrated, especially when we work with data. So we can be amazingly data savvy, data centric, can, work in a technical fashion, processing everything that we believe it's going to be great. But if we're not good communicators around that, then we're going to have other type of problems, which might mean not getting the fundraising that we need for the project, not being able to convey crisp message to senior management when it comes to letting them know, hey, this is really important. This is something that we really need to work around. The use of collaboration tools is something that I will always recommend. There is a full stack for you to think about. I would say less is more when it comes to complexity. Um, I honestly find myself very uh, into these tools, especially after finding the value behind Slack, which I extremely love and think it's an amazing tool to share, to communicate, to work around, multiple APIs and plugins, even with Zoom. Um, but besides tools, which is not a key aspect in this particular capability, communication is something that can be coached and that can be improved. And the only way to do this is to practice, 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 and receive feedback, receive feedback, receive feedback, receive feedback as much as you can. Number six, foster innovation, which pretty much speaks about not necessarily being the ultimate tech referent around what technology is and how can I better use it. It's about trying to work ourselves and our daily lives into understanding and daring to innovate. And innovation speaks about trying to make things different. Different because we find a more cost-effective way of doing it, better because we think that there's a way that we can reduce a process that has 10 activities into three, which is great, because we are very tech savvy and we like to incorporate technology every step we take, which is also good. Um, but besides whichever path you choose, innovation is something that is very also subjective. And we need to align on what that is, and especially around the benefits that that would bring. So I will always dare people to think outside the box and develop a growth mindset in order to be able to act as a sponge and try to absorb as much and as many ideas as possible, which means we don't need to be experts in every tool that exists. We need to know the right people and who to tackle with, but also being open minded when it comes to being tech savvy, which means, hey, if someone shares or tells us this is a better way to do something, hey, let's try to embrace it and give it a shot, or at least test drive the technology first before arriving to a conclusion. And one really, really important thing that I've been seeing in an academic and a professional environment, and something that I want to really, really share in an open and crude way, don't abuse technology. I've seen a lot of people doing this, especially around LLMs. And I can tell you, everyone in the house, it's not a good idea. Not only because you might probably be bringing in and contributing to a lot of data scandals and breaching gaps in terms of privacy regulations or things that you shouldn't be you know getting involved with. But at some point in time, I do think that in this fast-paced world that we live in, we don't even give ourselves time to digest whatever we want to convey or communicate. And there it comes, the LLMs as tools that we believe will replace the way we do things and even jeopardize the quality of our deliverables. And by deliverables, I'm not only meaning a report, an assignment, or anything that is more tangible. I'm talking about communicating with people, writing emails, uh, talking to someone in a non-scripted way. So again, the abuse of LLMs is something that I think we all should be aware of. And the gist here is, A, we need to be open to the fact that a chat GPT, a Microsoft Copilot, Claude, or any LLM that you can think about, there's a ton, can be great enablers, but the voice is yours. It's not the LLMs who should be speaking. And we don't want people to think, even if we're amazing communicators, hey, was this piece uh, or this article written by an LLM? And I'm finding that a lot, unfortunately. So again, humans in the center, human first. Let's not abuse the use of technology. Number 7, cultivating or learning agility, which speaks pretty much around, let me summarize this in a very crisp way. LLL, triple L, lifelong learning, which means basically never too late to learn new things. We're never too old to learn something new. The only thing that can stop us is our own agenda, but it's up to us. It's not up to everyone or anyone else, actually. So developing a lifelong learning mindset is what will help us uh, seeing through the world in a different way and trying to be more valuable to ourselves, to our organizations, even to our families. So again, enroll and as much webinars and consume as much content as it is valuable to you. Try to attend events online, on site. Never underestimate your brain power. Try to read something a bit each day. Try to listen to a TED talk or to any video that cultivates or allows you to learn something new or to learn something that is in within your realm. But never stop learning. Never, please, ever. Uh, this is definitely something that I do believe it's never too late to do. And for me, it's a critical capability because if we're not lifelong learners, then what's up and what's next for us? At least acknowledging that we just know this much about something that we even might be experts on. And finally, develop personal adaptability, which means and represents a great challenge, especially when we are going through a rough patch, especially when we are working ourselves around uh, not being able to manage our energy the best way possible. And in that sense, I would say, and I would appreciate the idea of the fact that there's not a one size fits all situation. No one will sell you a magic recipe to face this. And facing and developing your personal adaptability speaks about the reality and idea that in order to succeed, you need to fall an interesting number of times. I don't know if that number is between 1 and 1 million. I don't know if there's a magic number of times that we need to fail before succeeding. But what I can tell you is that success will never come without failing first, and even more so learning and capitalizing from those mistakes. There's a couple of work habits that I, I I've included. I'm not going to share them uh, specifically. They exist. The key and the trick here is finding the best ones for you. And and again, as I really love the WEF, I strongly recommend that you have a great look at this report, which also includes the core skills for 2030. I'm sure that most of you heard of this and even so more read it. It makes a lot of sense. It is quite in line with what I've shared. And it's a great invitation to think different. So, just to wrap it up, try to make some time to improve every day a bit, one bit at a day, one bit at a time, and align expectations both with yourself and with others. Be as agile as possible, preserving the focus in your business, in processes. And, the most important thing above and beyond all this is human kindness. Uh, Try to be as kind as possible. Sometimes, some attitudes or some instances can be nerve-wracking for you, but at the end of the day, when you think about it in cold, human kindness is the last thing that we need to lose in order for us to be different and in order for us to be valuable to us, to our families, to our friends, to our companies, and to society. Invest in good people and try to build a robust network as much as you can. This is priceless, in my opinion. That's why developing growth mindset is acknowledging the fact that change is a constant and we cannot do anything against it. What we can do, what's in our power, is to develop that growth mindset. And the fact that leadership and innovation are two faces of the same coin. So to innovate is to dare, and not to innovate might be lethal. Speaks about this idea of, taking the right chance, the right risks, and make sure that we avoid paralysis analysis. So new roles will emerge, some old ones will perish. Be ready to transform yourselves. Be ready to be part of the transformation, and don't be afraid of it. Uh, don't think about it as something negative. That will definitely condition you and your potential as you navigate the landscape of uncertainty and of change. The important thing here is that everyone and everything around you will change, and the secret sauce doesn't exist. It's your own personal flavor that would make you the best version of yourself. So hack your current workplace, make the most of it. I would always suggest that work for your physical, emotional, and personal well-being. And this "do what you love and love what you do" phrase is not invented. It's not something that I found inside of a cookie. It's not a pre-done phrase, but it's something that you need to feel in order to be happy, in order to wake up every day and do the works. Don't be afraid of technology. I will discuss this. Fail fast, but improve faster. Be courageous, be brave, be collaborative, deliver your best. Better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission most of the times. This is not 100% kind of a thumb rule or rule of thumb. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Uh, that is a very valuable insight and trait of everyone that is showing that vulnerability still matters. And finally, avoid unnecessary stress. Always try to be happy and enjoy yourself through this journey. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much. That was very inspiring as usual. So I don't know if there are some questions. Alan has another meeting soon, so if anybody has a question for him, otherwise we will continue with the presentation. There is one question, just like, can we share the material? We're going to share the presentation anyway, the recording. Okay. So you can rewatch the recording. Okay.
Again, I one of the things that I really want to emphasize, this is just my experience going through a number of situations, some of them really positive and rewarding, some of them the opposite. Um, I love doing this webinar because it always changes, but the core ideas are always the same, meaning developing ourselves as human beings, as professionals, is a unique journey. And what I cherish, the, the thing that I most cherish about this is the fact that there's not one only unique right way of doing it, which is a great invitation for every one of us to be ourselves and be the ones that we want to be. It it doesn't matter if we're doing things right or wrong. No one can judge that but ourselves. So that conviction that each of us needs to have, for me, it's like what drives you to wake up every day to be a better individual, a better human being, in spite of all of the things that are going around you, which can be far from good, but at the same time pretty rewarding because at the end of the day, when you reach the goal, you'll not only be proud of yourself, but how was your journey? Um, but also you'll be able to inspire other people. And by inspire, I don't mean anyone being a guru. I'm far from it. I don't. But every time I speak about this, there's something internally that sparkles. You know, we've all been through a rough patch. So the idea here is, hey, let's work ourselves through to being better and better 1% at a time. Okay. So
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alan. Thanks again. And to the next webinar. So, okay.
thank you so
Thanks.
much, everyone.